Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Halloween Hannah here. I'm super excited for this week. I know we had a couple weeks about alien abductions, and now we're kind of getting back to paranormal stories. I'm a member of several different paranormal groups on Facebook, and a lot of people share their personal experiences, and so really I just kind of reached out and asked if it would be okay if I shared their stories, and so many people gave me a resounding yes. So today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to go through some of these stories. So we're going to stick with first names here, but I'm really excited because these experiences are spread across a lot of different experiences, and I'm curious to see what your thoughts are for these individuals. All right, so let's jump right in, shall we? So the first person is someone named Akira. Again, Akira, thank you for sharing your story. Okay, so Akira starts, hi. So like my house is 10,000% haunted, and I just don't mind it anymore. Well, with that being said, I was laying in bed, getting ready for a nap. I wasn't asleep yet, but my eyes were closed, and my boyfriend was asleep facing the wall, not touching me. All of a sudden, I felt someone's finger basically in my ear, and I opened my eyes thinking it was my boyfriend messing with me. And it wasn't. He was still snoring, facing the wall, so I closed my eyes again, and this time, it felt like my head was going in a circle, like my mind was just going in circles, if that makes any sense. And then I opened my eyes thinking it was just my mind playing tricks on me. So then I closed my eyes again, and it did it again. Well, I opened my eyes, and in the corner I see a dark figure, and I just assume it's the ghost. So I closed my eyes again, but this time all I could see whenever I closed my eyes was a little girl with bright green eyes and fiery red hair staring back at me. Her face then morphed into something quite disturbing. I just need to know what it means. If anything at all, please help. So Akira added an edit. So I want to clarify, this is not my first encounter with entities. I've been experiencing the paranormal since I was young. I come from a line of Romani child gypsies and Irish travelers, and the females in my family on my mother's side have gifts. My mother says she thinks I've just inherited some of the gifts, so I don't know. I know I'm an empath, but I don't think I have the gifts that they have. So what do you think? Red hair, fiery green eyes. I mean, that kind of just, let's say hypothetically that she possesses some kind of gift, right? It could just be someone who wanted to be seen, really. I'd love to know your thoughts. Do you think that's what's going on? Because I feel like, just based on personal experience, those kinds of gifts, or whatever you want to call them, tend to kind of stay along familial lines, right? So I would imagine if her family has something there, she probably has something there too, right? So my guess is she probably just got visited by something that wanted to be seen. What do you think? Let me know below in the comments. All right, so now we have Della. So Della says, I have a story that is very strange. Over 32 years ago, my mother and I were sitting at the kitchen. My mother was telling my fortune. I look up and saw a small woman in the hallway with this mane of white hair. My mother saw my face and said, "You just saw a ghost." I could not figure out for the life of me who that could be. I knew that she was a witch. 32 years later to now, I live in the same house. I realized that the old woman was me. At 62, my natural black hair is now white. At 5 foot tall, the little old lady is an older me. She did edit, does anyone know what happened or has ever heard of this before? So essentially what she believes was, I guess for lack of a better word, like a premonition. Like she saw what her future self would look like, essentially. Has anything like that ever happened to you, where you're basically, you see something and realize maybe later in life that what you saw was yourself, but older. Very interesting. I wonder what that could be. I don't know, that's very weird. All right, so let's go on to our last story. So interesting. It kind of makes me think about like dreams that I've had. Sorry to go off on a tangent, but like, I don't know, I feel like I've had that same dream where you know, when I think about what I look like now versus when I was a child, I feel like I've had that dream before. I don't know. Okay, so last story of the day comes from someone who wished to remain unnamed. All right, so we have a shadow person in our fourplex that travels between our units that my son saw. I talked to the tenants below me and they said they've seen him, in quotes, multiple times inside and outside. They think it was the previous owner who would have built the place years ago. They met him before he passed, and he liked to do all the maintenance himself, so he has an attachment to the property. I've felt him multiple times, you know that feeling, like the air is electrified and cold, but he never makes me feel uncomfortable, so I don't think he has any ill will. So this is an interesting one, especially like if you've lived in a place that was essentially the caretaker is no longer alive, but like they really dedicated their life to a property. I feel like I've read that story a lot, right? Like there's a lot of lore there and they tend to kind of stick around to make sure things stay the way they like them, for lack of a better term. But I get that feeling, right? It's so interesting that I'm reading this story today because earlier today I was literally playing paintball VR on the Oculus Quest Rec Room, which I do a fair amount of. Super fun. And I felt this cold breeze out of nowhere and I thought it was super weird because all the windows were closed, doors were shut, but like I got a poof of cold air, which is really odd because our apartment stays pretty, the apartment stays pretty warm. So I thought that was kind of weird. Anyway, it's ironic that I'm reading about that to you right now when I literally just experienced it a little earlier. So I'm curious if you've ever lived in a property where you think the previous owner, stuck around, for lack of a better word. Anyway, you guys, those are the stories for this week. Thank you again to those that were willing to share them. I really appreciate it. And also, if you have a story that you want to share, don't forget you can always shoot me an email at hannahshauntings@gmail.com. Anyway, you guys, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you again for checking out my channel. I appreciate you so much. Again, the handle is Halloween Hannah. If you haven't already, you can check me out on Instagram. And otherwise, stay spooky. Ooh.